Welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast. So here today we are with Adam Rae. So we had Adam previously on the podcast and he came to visit me here.
Just for you.
Just for me in France, and we had really a great chat. So at the end we said, okay, let's maybe record a podcast just to explain a bit more maybe of some issues that are happening on the market. And we decided to select a certain topic, which is technical file issues that are happening. So most common issues that are happening within some technical files. And yeah, to just educate you or help you to understand some of the issues that may happen. But before that, for people that maybe don't know Adam, so Adam, can you just make maybe a small introduction of yourself?
Yeah, so we know each other well.
Yeah, we know each other well.
Yeah, so I won't do too much for you. So yeah, specifically medical devices and QARA, sterilization, not expert, never call myself an expert. But working in medical devices, working on technical files, QMS, a lot of remediation activity. Variety of devices from class 1 to class 3, active, non-active implantables. Great. So, and yeah, last time we discussed about vigilance, if I remember. Vigilance.
And UK also.
UK and
yeah. Because there was also a lot of other topics to discuss.
And there still is.
Exactly. And so, as we said, we are, myself and also Adam, we are looking at a lot of technical files and hearing also some feedbacks from notified bodies. And the idea is mainly what are the issues that are mainly happening within the field, and Adam will help us on that, so if we can get through it. So,
yeah.
So what will be the first main issue that you are identifying?
Main thing is the whole theme, I think, through everything we're going to discuss is inconsistency.
Okay.
Throughout the entire technical file from the beginning of it. The main thing being, a lot of organizations have brand names and trade names.
Exactly.
So they have, they may call something, Makeup One or something like that, and then they have the fancy name which is put on the market. And then throughout the technical file, they will refer to both names. And as a reviewer, when you're reviewing that technical documentation, you start to ask the question of what am I actually reviewing?
Exactly.
Because, if you're looking at the labeling versus the clinical evaluation versus the biological safety, and you start to see all this inconsistency, it just really creates a lot of confusion in actually what device you're reviewing.
Yeah, you are maybe thinking sometimes that there is a copy-paste and you are just taking one technical file and copying, pasting and say what's happening there. So in that case, is there a best practice in terms of creation of this information?
From the start, one consistent name.
Okay.
So if you have an internal name, if you have a summary document, it's always quite nice practice to be able to say, throughout this technical file, there may be reference to two names, for example, this name and this name. Wherever you see either of these names, it refers to the same device. So make that statement
from the beginning.
From the beginning in your summary file, so the reviewer can see that, because they should read it. That reviewer can read it and say, right, okay, so when they do see different names cropping up through the file, you've already covered it. You want to be able to think about these things before they can be raised. Yeah, no, I think it's a great thing. But if from the beginning you are really explaining all the details, then when they go to the next chapters and they find the different names, they understand it's the same thing. Yeah. But also on the instruction for use and labeling, you have to have both elements then. Okay? Yeah. Well, it depends on what you're marketing it as, what your claim is, what the device, what it's registered as. So for example, if it's in MDR, whatever you're putting on UDAMED is what you should really be using for the device name. But if you do have an internal name, then you would just make a reference in your summary document. So
sometimes we have a lot of time this kind of technical file with a lot of names, also for own brand labeling products, because those products are sold in many countries, and then in one country it's like that name, and another it's that name. So the idea is also to have really all those brands that are available, so there is no really mistakes there. Yeah,
so same kind of thing, summary document. Have essentially, if there's variants, it depends. Product, ISO 14971 product families. So the answer is always it depends. But generally, it depends, exactly. Right? But generally, in your summary document, if you are able to say here's all the variants, there's no substantial difference. They're all rooted from one technical file. Then that's all they're interested in. But you will need to supply all of the different labeling, all of the different information that goes along with that to show that this device is essentially the exact same. Okay. And the only thing that changes is, one country you can call it something else versus another country because they might not like a certain word in that country.
Understand.
Yeah, that's really it.
Great. Okay, so what is the next one?
Equivalence
of devices, I suppose.
Yes.
Okay.
So clinical equivalence.
Okay. So specifically for clinical evaluation.
Specifically clinical equivalence, but then also how that links out to the rest of the technical documentation.
Okay.
So throughout, again, if I would always have a rule of, if you're not claiming equivalence against a device, do not use the word equivalent anywhere in a technical file.
I mean, there is some misunderstanding between equivalent device and similar device also. So there are some mix-up to say my product is equivalent, but no, it's similar. It's not equivalent. So they have also this kind of wording to understand there.
So in clinical evaluation, it is totally fine to use similar devices, providing the manufacturer is aware of the differences between that device and the similar device and your own device, and you need to be able to identify any discrepancies with that. So you would say this device has the same intended use, same shelf life, etc. But you'd say in-use stability, for example, is different, and you would need to be able to, as the manufacturer, justify what effects that may have on the efficacy and performance of your device in clinical evaluation.
But there is this MDCG guidance that is really explaining. I mean, there is a table exactly of which item you have really to look for proving equivalence, and when there is an issue or justification why this is different. So people have really to stick to that.
Yeah, we should attach that to this. That's a good document.
I think I mean, I have some people that when they are creating their clinical evaluation, they use one equivalence table, but it's not the one from the MDCG, and it creates a lot of issues. So for me, the advice is really to use the same as the MDCG guidance, and there is no kind of difference there. Yeah, but I will put that on the show notes.
Yeah, that's definitely a good document to reference. I think it depends as well if you're we're kind of jumping around territories here, but if you're NDD still at the moment, the equivalence requirements under NDR are a lot more now. I don't imagine a lot of manufacturers are going to be able to claim equivalence a lot of the time now, because you need to have agreement with an agreement with the device that you're claiming equivalence against.
I mean, we had a lot of stories also of manufacturers that get audited under NDD, and the notified body reviewed their clinical evaluation documentation. Everything was fine, and the same auditor came a few months later for MDR, and suddenly everything is wrong.
Big problems.
Exactly, big problems. So I think under NDD there were not a big scrutiny of those documents, and now under MDR it's really a big scrutiny. So that's why
without calling NDD relaxed, it was certainly more relaxed than NDR in that way, because NDR goes a lot more specific. It's chemical, technological and biological equivalence. You need to be able to demonstrate the equivalence across those three elements. With MDD, it's fairly, it was a bit easier to do it under that, and I think that's where a lot of manufacturers will be caught out in the coming months, because they're going to still use similar devices. This term similar and equivalence needs to be delineated.
Exactly,
Really needs to be delineated between properly, because a lot of manufacturers use similar as equivalent without understanding the difference.
I think it's a lot of US manufacturers who do that because of substantial equivalence for 510K that they are thinking, we are here is the predicate device for us, so it's the same in Europe. No, it's not the same definition at all, so we have to be careful of that.
Not at all. I think we can call like MDD like the good old days.
Yeah, exactly.
Like equivalence now. If 510K in the US is still like, I'd still say the good old days, because you can just reference a predicate device. It's quite nice, but I think NDR, I can see a lot of organisations, especially with lower risk devices, going to have a lot of issues with this stuff. And I think just in the way they do it, it's really about justifying if it's totally okay to use similar devices or generic devices. But it's about being able to understand, as the manufacturer, what are the differences between that similar device or that generic device and your device, and how are you able to show that there's no substantial effect on the performance of your device that you're going to be placing on the market.
I think this equivalency of devices is really, I think, the major issue that are happening really on the clinical aspect of the product, because a lot of companies are
Hey, just a second. Do you need a EU, Swiss or UK representative? Then choose Easy Medical Device. We can represent you and also become your importer. Contact us at eo@easymedicaldevice.com.
Thinking that their product is equivalent, But another tip, if I can say, is really to have a plan B each time.
Yeah.
So each time when you are not sure at 100%, have a plan B, because while they will review that and they will maybe send you this answer to say no, it's not equivalent, the idea is mainly, okay, what's next? What should I do? Because otherwise, if I have no other plan, I can stop. So there is no other solution there.
So you plan B then. So in that sense, when we've faced this a couple of times and from there, the question for me is always, is this device truly novel?
Yeah.
You know, if you can't find an equivalent, especially under MDR, it's not very, you know, apart from some of the devices we've seen together and worked on together, a lot of things are fairly similar to previous generations of devices. Yeah. So it's very rare that something is truly novel. But what is going to happen is, I think a lot of organizations will struggle to justify equivalence, because you need to get these agreements and all across the 3 types of properties for them. But with that, then if you cannot get that, then it's really that question of, is this device really novel? Mm-hmm. If it's not, which is probably not going to be a lot of the time, because you know, similar materials or performance or intended use, etc., then it's just around saying, right, okay, that similar device or my generic device, that's your plan B. That should be your plan B, because then it's right, you know, and then if your answer to that question is this truly novel, is yes, then, you know, maybe you shouldn't be considering a clinical evaluation.
Exactly.
You know, you maybe need to do a clinical investigation.
Exactly. So yeah, this is a different level here.
It goes up. You know, I'm a fan of clinical evaluations, but sometimes you just need to do an investigation.
No, it's
if
clear.
You cannot
it's clear.
substantiate the data.
It's clear.
Yeah.
Okay. And the third one?
Third one was unsubstantiated claims.
Okay.
So, you know, you kind of walk backwards from the label. It's always a great thing to do. Is
label, website, instruction for use, etc. You know,
anything, anywhere, any claims will be made about this device. It's always something, as a reviewer, you're always, I don't know about yourself, but I was always taught when you're reviewing stuff is to go to what is the customer going to look at, or the user going to look at,
what they understand from those brochures or those marketing documents. What are the claims that they will think about that? The product will save your life in 30 seconds, etc. Okay, how are you doing that?
Yeah, claims is something that's like, it's almost kind of, you walk through that process of reverse engineering. Mm-hmm. So you look at claims as a reviewer, I look at claims at the end of it, so i.e. the label, IFUs, etc., and walk right the way back through all of the technical files, you know, so through clinical evaluations, biological evaluation, all the way to intended use, risk management, and then back to, you know, the beginning of the technical file to see if they are able to substantiate these claims, you know, because I think you see a lot of devices, for example, will claim, for example, compatibility with all other associate devices. And that is quite a claim, you know, to make. That is a really big claim to make. And then, so the question there is, if you're saying it's compatible, the rule for me is never say again the word all on a label or on a technical file, because if you do that, you really raise the question for the reviewer to ask, okay, show me the proof. Show me the proof
that you are compatible of all this, that.
Everything on Earth, you know, and it's impossible.
But it's mainly what a lot of notified bodies or auditors are doing that now. They are looking at your brochure, picking all the claims one by one, and then going to your clinical data and check. You are saying that, what is the proof or what is the literature or the thing that is showing that you are really this claim is really true. I had once, it was like, marketing is really creative. This kind of marketing creative. Because sometimes you have some marketing sentences that are used. It's like we have some contact lenses, and those contact lenses can protect you against the sun or whatever. So how they can do that? Are they black, like with UV filter or whatever? No, but this and that. Guys, do you have a proof of that? Do you have this? And this is mainly the issue that can happen, is that if you let only the marketing people make those sentences and you are not verifying that, then it can have a lot of consequences also for your products. Yeah, and I think it's you know, that kind of thing of saying, you know, it's compatible with all. Really, you are just leaving yourself open to it, you know. And I think, but also on the other side of it, you're not allowing your device to be, or your product room to be able to expand. Because you're going for everything at the start, saying we're compatible with everything. And then you go down. And then you need to shrink your scope down, and then you need to go through the process of bringing it back up again. So again, with anything to do with claims, I always would lean towards reducing your claims to being as
not to use, not restrictive, but in a sense fairly restrictive in yourself, that it allows you to then say, right, we have claims that we're able to substantiate with performance data, testing, studies, the whole QMS output essentially. But then from there, then that is a case of once you've got that technical file reviewed and approved, because you will always get comments and reviews. I don't know if you've ever seen.
No, always.
Yeah, I've never
had one clean from the first time. It's fine.
I don't think it exists.
No,
I've never met anyone that has had it. But it's like it's my goal. I need to get a technical file for review. It's just not happening. I just don't think it will ever happen. Especially not under MDR. It's just not going to happen. But I think any technical file you're going to review, submit, there's always going to be a review coming back. So you can skip some of the queries here by reducing your claims.
Exactly.
And providing they do not affect the business, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to sell. If you reduce your claims, you're reducing the cost associated with trying to get that device on the market. And then it allows you to have a nice roadmap of saying, well, this device's shelf life at the moment is 24 months.
Yeah.
What if we could move that to 36 months? And then all we need to do is some real-time studies, accelerated aging studies. It's just about pushing that up. It gives you a lot of time to kind of develop things a lot. I mean,
before they were using kind of shortcuts to arrive to their objective, but now shortcuts are not working anymore. So you have really to go from zero.
It's a lot more detailed now. And I think like claims are something I think that are really, especially under NDR and IVDR, I think, for performance in particular, are becoming a lot more of a hot point in medical devices, because I think when a few years ago when I first started kind of breaking into industry, wasn't really a massive, claims weren't really something that was massively looked at in the same way, because it was very much, you would look at the information within it, you would look at the label, but they wouldn't have to go to the same level of detail as what we do now, so that's why if you have these words like all, equivalent, all these words are really starting to be kind of like keywords for a reviewer.
Trigger some.
Yeah, they trigger me. I've become that guy. I'm like, I get triggered by stuff. I look at it and I see all, and I'm like, oh. I see equivalent, and I'm like, oh goodness,
No, I can completely relate to that.
Makes me nervous.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Intended use statements.
Intended use, yeah.
So important. So important.
I mean, this is the first thing. I mean, each time we are even meeting with the company and asking what is their product doing. So intended use, what's exactly for, how it's working, what's the mode of action, etc. So just to understand first, is it first a medical device? What's the classification of that, etc. So with that, you have normally a good understanding of the product there. But what's the issue with the intended use?
A lot of the time, that you'd be surprised that I think, oh no, you see it as well, problem here, but you speak to organisations and you ask about intended use and they kind of
what's that?
Turn their head, and then my response is always, well, if you don't have intended use, you don't have a product. That's the way it is. Intended use is the first, like you said, the first thing that needs to be done for that, and it is. So I seen a good post on LinkedIn today from someone who's an RA professional, and it was really funny. They were like, oh, let's just quickly update the intended use, and it was like the words no regulated affairs professional wants to hear, because you should not be updating your intended use. It should be
the same. I mean,
it should be implemented and froze. Like design freeze. So the one again, it's something that I've seen so much in reviewing, and that I've been picked up on before in my past as well. When I was a bit less in the game, is intended use statement and say your summary file completely does not match the intended use statement and say your biological evaluation, which then contradicts in your clinical evaluation, and then you're just sitting as the reviewer and you're just like, what is this device doing? We
are reading 10 times.
And it's just every single intended use is different, and then you look at the label and none of it makes sense to the label, and then that ultimately draws to the conclusion that you are, as a reviewer, you have no confidence to be able to approve that entire technical file because of something that I imagine people think is fairly minor, because it's essentially like a paragraph, isn't it, intended use, so people think not that important, it's just...
but this paragraph is copied on the risk management, on the clinical evaluation, on the PMS, PMCF, etc. All those documents have that.
Yep.
And one of the advice that we are doing is that we create a master intended use document. Yes. So if you want to change your intended use, you change this document, but then this document is linked to those documents there. So then you know exactly where you have to go and update again those information.
Yeah, best practice.
Exactly, best practices. But if you don't have, as you said, an intended use, it's really difficult. I mean, we have made also with Cesare Magri, we have made a specific episode about intended use, how it's working, what should be inside, etc. So maybe to also look at that. But the notified body are really this is what first they will be looking at because they want to understand how this product is working. Yeah,
and it does. It kind of, it's kind of, I think they call it auditor's eye or auditor's feeling. I'm not sure what you would call it, but it kind of get that confidence. So if you're reviewing a technical file and everything is typed,
it's the same, exactly.
It really makes you feel like, right, they know what they're doing here, they're thinking about their stuff properly, whereas you start to see different intended use statements because of that's so important. It starts to raise a bit of concern, so you start to dig harder into certain areas. So if you see different intended use statements, you see the word equivalent.
For example, the population is everybody, and the other is from 18 to 79 years, and for the other, for children also.
Just inconsistency.
Exactly, inconsistency.
That's I think something that through the notes that we were creating, that I think was the main thing, is that word inconsistency. It's so important in technical files just to have consistency throughout the whole thing. So I think I also do master intended use documents because I think they're so useful. Because especially if you have, like you say you have a couple of technical files or a couple of products that aren't able to be under the one technical file for any other reasons, for example, but there is a chance they may all have the same intended use. You could have 3 or 4 technical files with 16 documents per technical file that have the same statement.
Exactly.
You change one thing, you're just walking into non-conformities.
That is great.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I thought we'd want to make some reference to that. I think you've already done some stuff on the team notified body.
Yeah.
Technical documentation.
There is also this guidance also on Team NB notified body where they have this guidance on how to create a technical file for MDR and IVDR. So I have it also mentioned the last monthly review on May 2023. So you can go and just check the show notes, and there is this document. So it's really a great document just for you to understand how to write a technical file and what should be inside. Anything else for the audience?
No, I don't think so. I think the only thing was you wore a black shirt for the May update.
What?
You wore a black shirt for the May update. You usually always wear white.
Yeah, exactly. So I need to change sometime.
The industry.
Exactly. Really? They are shocked? Okay. Great. So it's a good thing. So you see, you noticed that?
I noticed. I'm a reviewer.
No, it's great. So really great. Yeah.
But that's it, mate. That's it.
Next time I will change again just to see.
I'll see. I'll notice.
Great. Okay, Adam, really thank you for you being here. Thank you for visiting me here. I hope we can have other maybe people coming here and having also another podcast episode together. So thanks, Adam, I wish you a nice return back to the UK. I think you're in London.
UK, yes.
Great.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you. Have a nice day.